So today, we're going to get into a truly terrifying story. This one actually comes from one of our subscribers, Sahil, and it's all true. It's about a road trip that starts out with the best of intentions and, well, ends in pure, absolute horror. Let's dive in. And this quote right here from Sahil, it just says it all. I mean, think about it. The one sound that's supposed to mean comfort and safety, a lullaby, gets twisted into the stuff of nightmares. That single idea is really at the dark heart of everything that happened to him and his friends. You know, it's kind of like a classic horror movie setup, isn't it? This story starts with a warning that was just completely ignored. You've got four friends, a gorgeous remote location, and a piece of local legend that they just laughed off. And that one little mistake, yeah, that's what plunged them into a nightmare they couldn't escape from.
So what were they even doing up in the mountains? Well, this wasn't just some party trip. Sahil and his buddies, Chirag and Arun, had actually brought their friend Same to Manali for a very specific reason. See, Same was going through something awful. His younger brother had died in a tragic accident just a few months before. So the whole point of the trip was to get him away, to try and help him heal a little. For the first 2 days, everything was fine. Totally normal. But then, on their third day, as they were getting ready to drive up to the famous Rotang Pass, the receptionist at their hotel gave them some, well, let's call it some very strange and very specific advice. The warning was pretty detailed and, frankly, super ominous. The receptionist was adamant. Be back before 6 p.m., no exceptions. He told them that the name Rotang literally means Valley of Death or Pile of Corpses. Yikes. He said the locals all locked themselves inside after dark because of this legend, a story about a Mayavi Saya, which is like a deceptive, elusive shadow that haunts the pass at night. But the guys, they just laughed. They figured, he's just trying to spook the tourists, and headed off without a second thought. So they had a great time up at Rotang Pass, but they completely lost track of time. By the time they started driving back down, it was already past 9 p.m. It was pitch black. All the other tourists were long gone, and this incredibly thick fog started rolling in, just swallowing the road whole. Arun was driving, trying to be super careful in the fog, when suddenly a milestone pops up in the headlights. Manali 28 km. Okay, good. But it's what Sahil saw next to it that was just wrong. There was a man sitting on the stone, wearing nothing but a thin dhoti. In the freezing cold mountain air. It was so bizarre, but Sahil kind of rationalized it and didn't say anything out loud. So they keep driving, right? For a good 20 minutes. They're crawling through the fog, thinking they're getting closer to town. And then, bam, they see it again. The exact same milestone, Manali 28 km. At first, they're just confused, thinking maybe they took a wrong turn. But when they started talking, this cold, creeping dread started to set in. Because it turns out, they hadn't seen the same thing at all.
And this is the moment their reality just completely shattered. Look at this. Sahil, he saw the man in the dhoti. Chirag saw a little girl holding a toy. Arun, the driver, saw a black horse just standing there. But Same's reaction was the most terrifying. He didn't say what he saw. He just got really agitated, insisting that someone out there needed help and that they had to stop the car. A while later, it appears for a third time. Manali 28 km. Only this time, there was nothing next to it. No man, no girl, no horse, just empty space. It was almost 11 o'clock at night, and the realization hit them all like a ton of bricks. They weren't lost. They were stuck. They were trapped. And that receptionist's warning about a deceptive shadow started to feel terrifyingly real. Just as pure panic was starting to take over the car, Arun, the driver, broke the silence. And his voice was low, and it was filled with this new kind of terror, way worse than just being lost. He gave them a simple, chilling order. Just those 4 words, friends, don't look outside. He told them, whatever you do, just keep your eyes locked straight ahead. But come on, how can you not look, right? The fear, the curiosity, it's just too much. And then he told them why. Something or someone was keeping pace with them, not running on the road ahead, but right there, in the dark, just outside the car windows. Okay, now you have to get this. Arun had sped up. The car was moving at about 40 kilometers an hour. But the figure, which they could now see was a boy, maybe 15 years old, he wasn't sprinting. He was just walking, casually walking alongside a moving car. His clothes were covered in mud, and his face looked like it was full of injuries. This is when Same, who was already acting weird, just became completely fixated. He said,
Maybe he needs our help. And he actually started to roll down his window. Arun is frantically hitting the central lock button to stop him, but it's not working. The locks wouldn't engage. The other guys are screaming Samay's name, but he just stared at the boy, who eventually just fell behind them, waving from the rearview mirror. After that absolutely terrifying encounter, the loop finally broke. They saw a sign for Manali 16 km and somehow made it back to the hotel around 2 in the morning, completely shaken. They all just agreed, let's not talk about it. Let's just go to sleep. But the horror wasn't done with them. It had followed them inside. At 3:30 a.m., Sahil wakes up to this faint sound. It's singing. He looks over and the sight just freezes his blood. Samay is sitting straight up in his bed, staring at his own reflection in the dark mirror, and he's singing this sweet little children's lullaby to himself.
Sahil immediately wakes up the other two. They look at Samay, and his eyes were bloodshot red. There were these dark marks appearing on his neck, like fingerprints, as if someone was strangling him. And he had this tiny, eerie smile on his face as he kept singing that lullaby, completely ignoring them as they yelled his name. The three of them, absolutely terrified, start backing away towards the door. And as they do, Samay stops singing. He slowly turns his head to look at them, and with that same creepy smile, he speaks. Only the voice isn't his. It was this high-pitched, childish voice, and it asked them, "If I knock on your window, will you open it to help me?" And then he just collapsed, passed out cold. At that moment, they knew. This was way beyond their control. Samay was possessed. The next morning, remembering the receptionist's warnings, they took Samay to find a local pandit, a Hindu priest. They were desperate for any kind of help or explanation. The pandit apparently took one look at Samay and knew exactly what was going on. He explained that this evil thing from the past had sensed Samay's deep, profound grief over his brother. It was preying on that vulnerability, pretending to be the spirit of his dead brother to trick Samay, to get him to lower his defenses and let it in. So the pandit started a series of rituals right away. As you can see here, he did a ceremony to ward off the evil eye, then a cleansing ritual, and during this, Samay got incredibly, violently sick, which all led to the final, horrifying step. He vomited this thick, black, completely unnatural liquid. And after that, it was over. The entity was gone. Sahil says Samay is okay now, but that the memory of that lullaby still haunts him. And it leaves us with this really disturbing question, doesn't it? Was this spirit some kind of predator that was specifically drawn to Samay's pain? Or is that deceptive shadow still up there, in the valley of death, just waiting patiently for the next car that gets lost in the fog after dark?